Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Wacky Wednesday, a weekly series where we explore some wacky deck ideas in both Standard and Modern, and this week we're back to Standard with a deck built around Azor's Gateway, a legendary artifact from Rivals of Ixalan, and we've built around it in this blue-red control shell. So Azor's Gateway is a 2-mana artifact that we can pay a mana and tap it to draw a card, and then we have to exile a card from our hand. So it's basically like drawing a card and then discarding, which is a nice looting effect, giving us some card selection. And then if we've exiled 5 or more different cards with varying mana costs, we can untap Azor's Gateway, gain 5 life, and transform it into Sanctum of the Sun, which is a legendary land that taps to add X mana to our mana pool of any color, where X is our life total, so that gives us an enormous mana advantage. And with all the mana generated by Sanctum of the Sun, we're going to try to combo kill our opponent by casting a giant Ribbons from the Aftermath card Cut to Ribbons. And Cut is just a perfectly playable card as 1 and a red to deal 4 damage to target creature, and then we get to cast the Aftermath side Ribbons from the graveyard, X and double black, to make an opponent lose X life. And of course, thanks to Sanctum of the Sun making mana of any color, we can easily make the black mana to cast Ribbons from the graveyard for a very big amount, and hopefully that's just enough to kill our opponent on the spot. So that's the main game plan of the deck. We're trying to transform Azor's Gateway and then finish off our opponent with the giant Ribbons. So let's take a look at the entire deck, starting out with our 1-drops, where we have 2 copies of Opt, an instant for single blue to scry 1 and then draw a card, so nice bit of card selection. And the main reason we're playing Opt is just to diversify our mana costs, so we can have a 1-drop to exile with Azor's Gateway. And an additional 1-drop we have is Magma Spray, an instant to deal 2 damage to target creature, and if that creature would die, it gets exiled instead, so nice answer to recursive threats like Scrap Heap Scrounger. Then of course the 4 copies of Azor's Gateway, which is legendary, but of course we can easily exile additional copies we draw to the effect itself. And next up we have 3 copies of Censor, 1 and a blue to counter target spell unless the opponent can pay 1 mana, and we can also cycle it away for a single blue mana. Next up we have 2 copies of Essence Scatter, counter target creature spell for 1 and a blue. Then we have 2 copies of Harness Lightning as another great removal spell, plays well with our other energy cards, Aether Hub and Glimmer of Genius, and the only reason why we're only playing 2 copies is that we already have Cut to Ribbons as a 2-mana removal spell. Then we have 3 copies of a Vizier of Tumbling Sands, which for 2 and a blue is a 1/3 that we can tap to untap another target permanent, so we can use this to untap our lands to essentially ramp, but we can also untap Azor's Gateway, which is a nice way to transform the Gateway a lot sooner since we get 2 activations every turn instead of just 1. And we can also cycle the Vizier for 1 and a blue to draw a card, and when we do cycle the Vizier we also still get to untap target permanent once, so we can still get an additional activation out of the Gateway, and that way we also play around a potential removal spell on the Vizier, since we are pretty light on creatures in the main deck otherwise. Then we have 4 copies of Disallow, which is a fancier version of Cancel, also being able to counter activated abilities or triggered abilities, which can be relevant against Planeswalkers. Then our card advantage, 4 copies of Glimmer of Genius, to let us scry 2 and then draw 2 cards, and it also adds 2 energy, which is relevant for Harness Lightning and for Aether Hub. Then 1 sweeper in the main deck in the form of Hour of Devastation, for 5 mana makes all creatures lose indestructibility, and then deals 5 damage to all creatures and all non-Bolas Planeswalkers. And then our finisher of choice besides Cut to Ribbons is 3 copies of Torrential Gearhulk, which is a 5/6 with flash, so we can play it at instant speed to ambush the opponent's creatures, and when it enters the battlefield we can cast an instant for free from the graveyard. Most of the time that's going to be a Glimmer of Genius, but sometimes we can also flash back a counter spell or a removal spell. And last but not least, we have 1 copy of Commit to Memory as another Aftermath card. Commit is an instant for 4 mana that lets us put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library second from the top, so it's not card disadvantage. And for 6 mana we can cast Memory from the graveyard, and then each player has to shuffle their hand and graveyard back into their deck and draw 7 fresh cards. And a nice combo with Commits to Memory is Torrential Gearhulk, since you actually get to cast the Memory side at instant speed for free using the Gearhulk's ability. So end of turn you can cast a Gearhulk and cast a Memory side and be the first one want to untap with 7 new cards. And something else I should mention is that if you exile one of the Aftermath cards with Azor's Gateway, you have to add up both halves to get the total converted mana cost of the card. So if you exile a Commit to Memory, the converted mana cost will be 10, and if you exile Cut to Ribbons, the converted mana cost will be 4, which is also relevant if you're trying to get 5 different mana costs for your Azor's Gateway. Then the mana base is pretty straightforward. We have 4 copies of Spirebluff Canal, 4 copies of Aether Hub, 2 copies of Highland Lake as a necessary evil, and then 8 islands and 8 mountains. Then quickly going over the sideboard, we have 1 copy of Baral, Chief of Compliance, which is great to bring in against other control decks when they take out most of their removal spells after sideboard, and that way we get to sneak in Baral and have a nice mana advantage, and being able to loot when we counter something is also relevant. Then we have 4 copies of Negate against control decks. Then we have 1 copy of Nezahal, Primal Tide, which is a nice one in the control mirrors as it's uncounterable and draws us cards when the opponent casts non-creature spells. We have a Chandra's Defeat, mainly to deal with Chandra herself, but can also take out a Glorybringer for just 1 mana. We have an additional Magma Spray against aggro decks, 3 copies of Abrade as an additional removal spell, but can also deal with artifacts like God Pharaoh's Gift. And then we have some more sweepers, 2 copies of Sweltering Suns to deal 3 damage to all creatures, and an additional copy of Hour of Devastation, and then another copy of Commit to Memory as another versatile sideboard card that we can bring in various matchups. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play, and yep, this hand looks pretty good. Could use some more lands, but the gateway can help us there. So let's lead with islands, say go. Opponent with Kumena Speaker, so we're up against Merfolk. So I don't think we need to cut the Speaker here, there's more valuable targets. So we're just gonna run out the Gateway. And next turn we can potentially use cuts and activate the Gateway. Don't have enough mana to cycle the Vizier and use the Gateway twice, so we could do that on turn 4. Could also consider just playing out the Vizier, since the opponent's probably not going to have any removal for it. So we can use the Vizier to ramp or untap the Gateway. Opponent has a turn 2 Elite, which is a little more scary than the Speaker. So we'll take 2 from the Speaker down to 18. And we picked up another Gateway. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna run out the Vizier here, as it can also just block one of the opponent's creatures. And then next turn we can maybe use the Gateway twice. Opponent with a Merfolk Branchwalker. Let's see whether they put the +1/+1 counter from the Elite. I imagine they just put it on the Speaker so they can attack past the Vizier. And the Branchwalker reveals Kumena, which they probably keep on top of their deck, and they did. So Kumena could be a problem. Opponent's just not gonna attack, and they put the counter on the Elite itself. So we kind of want to keep Cut to Ribbons to answer Kumena, but I think we'll start by activating the Gateway, since we kind of want to hit a land drop here. And instead we find another Cut to Ribbons, so I guess we'll just get rid of a Gateway. And then we can use a cut to answer either the Elite or the Branchwalker. Or I guess what we could also do is just use the Vizier to untap an island and use Disallow. That might actually be better here. And if the opponent doesn't run out a creature, we can always just untap our Gateway and loot again. Opponent goes for a Merfolk Mistbinder instead. So I think what we have to do is just counter that with our Disallow. Opponent does get an attack now with all their creatures. Instead they choose to stay on defense, not sure why. Opponent's just passing. Well, we did find a land. Now we can just cast cuts to take out the Elite or the Branchwalker. And then we can still use the Gateway twice. That seems fine here, so let's take out the Elite. Alright, that works. And now I'll just say go. So if the opponent decides to run out Kumena, We do have another cut to answer it, and they can no longer put a +1/+1 counter on it with the elite to put it out of cut range. And we're getting close to casting Torrential Gearhulk, which is nice. Opponent with a Tempest Caller. Alright, I guess in response we probably want to use our Gateway. Draw into a Glimmer. I think we want to keep that one, even though now we don't add various mana costs to the Gateway anymore. But let's just discard the Gateway anyways, and then we can untap the Gateway and use it once more. I guess we can exile Opt instead, since we might need the cut just as a removal spell. Alright, so the opponent adds Tempest Scholar to the board. They still have a Kumena in hand that we know of. And they hit us for 5. So land would be nice here, instead another Vizier. I think we just want a Glimmer main phase to hit land drops here, so let's do that. And we found 2 lands, which I'll keep both. And so let's see, we could end up using Cut here to take out one of the opponent's creatures, but just keeping the Vizier as a blocker seems fine. And then we can still use the Gateway once end of turn. So let's say go. And then next turn we could already transform the Gateway, since we can exile the Vizier, which is a 3, exile a land, and then maybe the Cut to Ribbons, which is a 4, and then we'll have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hash Up Oasis is an interesting twist. Opponent runs out Deep-Root Waters, which we cannot counter, and that means that the opponent can actually use Kumena here, make a Merfolk, and then tap 5 Merfolk to add +1/+1 counters, which is pretty scary. So that was a reason to potentially just cast Cut last turn. Instead, looks like the opponent's just gonna be happy to draw an extra card. And yeah, we'll take 3 here. So we do get a chance to answer Kumena here before the opponent gets to add +1/+1 counters. Alright, so let's use the Gateway. Find another Glimmer. Think we can exile the Glimmer at this point. Find Aether Hub. Alright, so first things first, we need to get rid of this Kumena. So let's cast Cut. Opponent draws a card. Alright, now we can play out Aether Hub, get an energy, and we can use the Gateway. Found a Gearhulk, so we can just get rid of the mountain here. Use the Vizier on the Gateway once again. And then use Gateway, get rid of a 3. And yeah, we can exile the Vizier, keep the Magma Spray, transform, and now we have 15 life. Do we want to do anything here? I don't think so. We can just pass and play 2 Torrential Gearhulks in the opponent's turn, which is pretty sweet. And then Ribbons is going to be able to finish off our opponent. Opponent casts another Speaker, that's fine. Gets another Hexproof Merfolk. And if the opponent attacks here with a bunch of Merfolk, we get to ambush them with our Gearhulks. Opponent goes to combat. And this is what we want to see. Alright, let's make some blue mana. 15 blue mana floating, that's pretty nice. And I guess we start by casting a Gearhulk and flashing back Glimmer of Genius. I guess we can keep the Opt since we have a lot of mana to work with anyways. Drew into an island anyways. Now let's cast an Opt. Harness Lightning, yeah, we'll keep that one. So now we can cast a Magma Spray, target the Branchwalker, and run out another Gearhulk. And that one could target Magma Spray, but I think we'll go with the Opt once again. And I guess we can top the Vizier since we actually get to cycle and untap our other Vizier to block with. I guess we could have also next turn just untapped our Sanctum to make even more mana for the ribbons, but this is also fine. Alright, let's go to blocks. And ambush all the opponent's creatures. Untap. Hour of Devastation's not bad, but we can just make a bunch of black mana. And then cast Ribbons. And Axe equals 20. And that's enough. Alright, sweet. On to sideboarding against Merfolk. So we get to bring in our sweeper effects, 2 more Sweltering Suns, additional Hour of Devastation. And we could also consider Magma Spray. Don't think we want the Abrades, but I could be wrong. What do we take out? I could see shaving some number of gateways here. Maybe a Disallow and a Censor, since we're on the draw. Try something like this. Could have brought in even more spot removal spells like Abrade and Magma Spray, but I do expect our opponent to bring in maybe Planeswalkers, more enchantments. So we don't want to overdo it on the spot removal since we're already bringing in sweeper effects. And yeah, this hand looks okay. Can definitely lose if the opponent has an early Kumena, since can't answer that right away. But Sweltering Suns and Hour of Devastation are the cards we're looking for in this matchup. Turn 1 Speaker. And there's a Gearhulk. Let's go with the Mountains, say go. And there's a Deeproot Elite. Next turn could be scary if the opponent can put some of their Merfolk out of Sweltering Suns range. For now we'll just take 2 down to 18. Opt is not a bad one. So hopefully something that dies to Sweltering Suns here. Merfolk Mistbinder. Opponent puts a counter on the Kumena Speaker, but the Speaker's still gonna die if they don't have anything else, since the Sweltering Suns will take care of the Lord, and then the Speaker will lose the +1/+1 bonus and will die as well. And they do have single green up, which could mean Blossoming Defense. Opponent just attacks with the Speaker. Not sure what they're playing around, not attacking with the Elite. But we'll take 4. And end of turn we can opt. And another Hour of Devastation we probably don't need. So let's put that on the bottom, find a Vizier. Another Sweltering Suns, alright, let's play one of them. And see if the opponent has Blossoming Defense or not. If they use it on their Lord, we'll also save the Kumena Speaker. If they don't... Merfolk Branchwalker, yep, that's fine. Reveals a River Sneak. Get to untap, find a Glimmer. Alright, plans changed. Just gonna say go, keep up Glimmer. I'll happily take 3 from the Branchwalker, and then next turn maybe we just cast Hour of Devastation. Our opponent could also be holding up counterspells here, so we have to keep Negate in mind. Opponent casts River Sneak, that's fine. So we're just gonna end of turn the Glimmer here, and if they counter it, we can just Sweltering Suns to clean up the board. Opponent gets in for 3. We drop to 11, and let's Glimmer end of turn. They let us have it. Yeah, I'll keep both cards on top. Don't mind drawing land number 6, and Harness Lightning is fine as well. Another Glimmer. So here we have a few options. I think we just lead with a Sweltering Suns though, since if this resolves, then I don't see our opponent coming back. They could have a Negate. We do have enough mana to pay for Spell Pierce. Instead it's a Dive Down on the Branchwalker. I guess we just Harness Lightning the Branchwalker here. So Branchwalker dies, and then Sweltering Suns gets rid of the River Sneak. So not the best exchange ever, but still we did not lose any cards in the exchange, so that's fine. And now we get to untap with 6 mana, Gearhulk at the ready. And Silent Gravestone. Alright, I guess that kind of deals with Gearhulk, but I'm happy for opponent just sits there. So yeah, let's just say go. Our opponent's last card is Merfolk Mistbinder. I think I'm just gonna flash in the Gearhulk as a 5/6 to start beating down, even if we don't get any value from it. Mistbinder resolves, and now we're just gonna beat down with our Gearhulk. So let's start attacking here. Hit for 5, and then we can say go, and we can use a Vizier to untap the Gearhulk to ambush the Mistbinder, which is pretty funny. I guess we should maybe cast a Glimmer, so that our opponent doesn't play around the second Gearhulk. Kumena Speaker, so I think we'll actually cast a Glimmer response here to trick our opponent into attacking with the Mistbinder, so let's bottom both. Draw into a bunch of lands. So let's see if they attack here. They do. Awesome, so we get to cycle. Untap the Gearhulk. Since if we have 6 mana up, it's unlikely that the opponent attacks into another Gearhulk, but Vizier is a little more fringe, so now we actually get to ambush the Mistbinder. And we are flooding out a bit, so it would be nice to draw into a gateway here. Instead another Gearhulk, I guess that'll do. So let's just continue the beatdown. And if our opponent has absolutely nothing, I guess they're dead next turn to double Gearhulk. Opponent does not attack, playing around the Gearhulk, but we're gonna flash it in anyway, since now they're forced to chump. And I guess we can just cast Hour of Devastation here to get the job done. Opponent can sacrifice the Gravestone to try and look for something, but... Alright, we managed to beat Merfolk, and we did pull off our combo in game 1, so that's nice. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the play, and this hand looks pretty good. Could use some more lands, I guess, but the gateway can help us there as well. So tapped Catacomb from the opponent, so it could be a blue-black control deck, in which case these removal spells don't look great. But gateway should be decent. So let's play that, say go. And we already have some varying mana costs. 1, 4, 3, 4, although I'm probably not gonna exile the Glimmers, if we're being honest. Tap the Glacial Fortress, so it could be an Esper approach deck or an Esper gift deck. We're just gonna main phase use the gateway here, I think, to try and hit land drops. Found an opt. If we're up against a gift deck, the spray could still be useful, but I think I'm just gonna get rid of it, and then we can opt to look for land. Opponent cycles a Censor. We find our own Censor, which we will bottom. Find another opt, no third land. That's unfortunate, but next turn we can opt and use gateway to ensure that we do find it. And alright, our opponents got their own gateway, interesting. So nice battle here of the gateways. Let's lead with a gateway activation. Find Harness Lightning, let's get rid of one gateway. And let's opt to try and find that land. Bottom the Disallow. Jesus, still no land. That's unfortunate, but we'll have to deal with it. Opponent uses their gateway, gets rid of Fatal Push. Opponent knows what's up. Alright, there's our third land, finally. Now we get to say go. Opponent gets rid of Baffling End. Also not gonna do much here. And end of turn we'll use the gateway. I guess we'll get rid of Cut to Ribbons as a 4. I think I'll play the untapped land here, gives us more options whether or not we want to Glimmer or Disallow plus Gateway. Opponent gets rid of a land. And end of turn, let's see, do we want a Gateway or do we want to Glimmer? Kind of feel like getting ahead of the Gateway race is important here. So let's use the Gateway, find a Vizier. I think we actually get rid of the land here, and then we can cycle the Vizier to untap the Gateway once again. So let's see what we draw. Magma Spray. So we have 1, 2, 4, 0. We don't have a 3 yet, but I feel like Disallow is a pretty important card in the matchup. I guess we use the Gateway again here. Find Censor. So I don't really want to get rid of this Disallow since it's pretty important in control mirrors, but maybe that's the right call just to get this transformed since we already have 1, 2, and 4. And I would rather not discard the Gearhulk, so alright, let's just go for it. And now we have 25 life, ton of blue mana, and we can cast some Glimmers. And alright, our opponent just scoops it up. I don't think we were necessarily gonna win on the spot, but I guess I'll take it. So Gateway is pretty good in control mirrors, as it turns out. So we definitely want Nezahal in this matchup. We definitely want our Negates. And our Baral. And we also want to consider Abrade to answer the opponent's Gateway. And Commit to Memory isn't terrible either. What do we take out? Magma Sprays, Harness Lightning. Essence Scatter's also not going to be great. So I could see cutting that, even though it can counter a Gearhulk. And Hour of Devastation. And I think I keep in the Cut to Ribbon just because we can cut our own Gearhulk and then still use a ribbon to finish off our opponent. And if our opponent brings in random sideboard creatures, we can potentially take them out. I guess Essence Scatter is probably better, so maybe we want to go 2 and 1 just to hedge a little bit. Alright, this looks good. I guess if we're totally off the Cut to Ribbons plan, we could have just brought in the Abrades to deal with the opponent's Gateway, but alright, let's keep this hand. Double negate Disallow. It's probably going to be good, unless the opponent's got a turn 2 Gateway. We have our own Gateway though, so... Abrade can also deal with Gearhulk, so I guess we probably should have brought in some copies of Abrade here. I'm just going to say go. Don't want to tap out for Gateway. Just going to keep up Negate. And then next turn maybe we go for the Gateway. We'll see. Opponent also happy saying go. Alright, found a redundant Gateway, so I guess we can tap out for it. Disallow, that's fine. So we don't want to see a Planeswalker from the opponent here. 4 mana. They're just going to say go again. Alright. Missing land drops isn't great. Let's try another Gateway. Gets disallowed again. Alright. Opponent cycles Censor. Alright, land is good. So now we get to say go with a million counter spells. And we just need to try and keep hitting land drops as much as possible here. Opponent cycles Fetid Pool, so opponent's got plenty of lands to work with apparently. Alright, opts. I feel like we can cast main phase just to try and find a land. Yep. Let's say go. And Glimmer, I think I let resolve, even though we could negate. Opponent's already up to 7 mana, so if they have their own Nezahal, I guess we're in trouble. Censor will cycle. Alright, at least we find our land. Say go. Vizier of Tumbling Sands. I think we'll just say go and cycle that end of turn. Search for Ascanta. Now at that we need to negate. That works. End of turn we'll cycle. Untapping a land. Say go. And maybe next turn we can try for this Gearhulk. Opponent's got their own Gearhulk, which we will Essence Scatter. Opponent cycle Censor. Alright, so let's see, now we've got enough mana to play Gearhulk and protect it with Negate. Although the problem is that we haven't found any great draw spells yet. We'll let the Illumination resolve here. We don't have anything particularly exciting to flashback except for Opt. And Nicol Bolas got Pharaoh. Well, I guess we can Gearhulk and try to flashback Negate and hope the opponent doesn't have 2 counterspells for the Gearhulk. And alright, our opponent scoops it up, so they probably didn't have much action left in their hand. And Gearhulk was going to counter Nicol Bolas, and I guess we did have some counter protection, but still perhaps an early concession from the opponent. Alright, I guess we were going to draw pretty well here. Alright, I guess I'll take it on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand could be a little too slow on the draw. Don't have any early interaction, but I think I'm gonna keep and hope we're not up against an aggro deck. Alright, Harness Lightning is a nice one. If our opponent presents a creature. Concealed Courtyard, so this could be an Abzan Tokens deck, which could be a rough matchup game 1. Instead a Scrap Heap Scrounger, alright. Disallow, so let's play Aether Hub. And we'll probably end up just killing the Scrap Heap as soon as it attacks. Might take a hit just to see what the opponent's follow-up is, but don't want to take 3 damage for no reason. Alright, this is helpful, our opponent tapping out main phase for a Heart of Kiran. I guess we probably need to save the Harness Lightning for the heart. And Old Growth Dryads, interesting. So yeah, that works. Opponent does let us a ramp here, which is nice. So let's get an island. So I guess we just take the hit from the Scrap Heap here. And hope they crew the Heart of Kiran next turn so we can lightning it. And otherwise we get to Glimmer. Opponent is crewing the heart, so we do get a chance to kill it here. And our opponent with Ghalta Primal Hunger. Well, that does explain some of the opponent's card choices, and I guess we're forced to disallow here. I guess that's a pretty sweet combo. Vehicles and Ghalta on turn 4, that's pretty impressive. So we will just take 7 here, unable to use Harness Lightning this turn, and next turn we don't have enough mana to Glimmer and Lightning. I guess we should have considered cycling the Vizier, since we had 1 spare mana this turn anyways. Was probably a mistake. Censor the draw. I think we just say go. Opponent crews the heart once again, and they are attacking us. So we get to use Harness Lightning here. And thanks to Aether Hub we'll have enough energy to kill the heart. So we'll take 3 down to 7. And end of turn we're probably just gonna cycle both cards here. Guess we should have considered cycling the Censor in case we draw into another Harness Lightning or a Magma Spray, which would be even better. Pride Sovereign. Can't counter that one. So let's start by cycling Vizier. Cycle Censor. I guess we need to Glimmer main phase here to try and find an answer to these creatures. Hour of Devastation is gonna be a turn too late, but maybe it's worth keeping on top anyways. What are we hoping for if we keep Hour of Devastation on top? Then we need to find exactly Harness Lightning, Magma Spray or Cut to Ribbons. And then the turn after we do get to Hour of Devastation to clean up the other two creatures, but then Scrap Heap still comes back, so we still die to the Scrap Heap. Unless we disallow the trigger. I think we need to bottom both here. Try to find 2 spot removal spells. Instead we find another Vizier, which I guess can still cycle into a Magma Spray as our only hope. And I guess we should do that now. But we're probably dead here. Well, there's a Magma Spray, so now the question is, do we get rid of the Scrap Heap Scrounger or the Pride Sovereign? So at this next turn can make 2 cat tokens. And now that we put Hour of Devastation on the bottom, there's no hope of drawing into a sweeper effect. So it's gonna be difficult to beat this if it starts going wide. So I guess our best draw is Torrential Gearhulk next turn. So we should probably just Magma Spray the Pride Sovereign right now. And yeah. Say go. And hope to draw into either 2 removal spells or Torrential Gearhulk next turn. And I guess 2 removal spells with Glimmer is going to be difficult. I guess it would have to be another Magma Spray and a 2-mana removal spell. Gearhulk would be easier, but our opponent also can't have another creature here. Alright, they don't. Step 1. Drew a Highland Lake, which is not a Gearhulk. And is there a reason to Glimmer right now? Yes, there is, because of Cut, since that's a sorcery. Alright, put Island on the bottom, Cut on top, and we still need to draw into a Magma Spray. It's not a Magma Spray. Alright, it's been fun. I guess we cut the Dryad here, pretend like we have another Magma Spray. Say go. Maybe we get to see one more card from the opponent. Alright, they got it. On to sideboarding against Abzan aggro. Definitely want our Abrades against the Heart of Kiran deck and Magma Spray. And Sweltering Suns also has its merits. Perhaps it's better than Hour of Devastation here. So we can probably shave some of our dirtly combo pieces here. Maybe just cut all the Viziers. Seems good. We would like to be on the play. And this hand, I guess this is actually not that terrible, since we get to cycle 2 Censors to look for lands, and Essence Scatter and Disallow are pretty great. And we do have 26 lands in the deck, so alright, I'm down. Play Island, say go. And I guess if our opponent plays the Dryads, that would be ideal. They don't. Alright, let's cycle Censor. Find an Opt. And a Cut to Ribbons. Alright, let's just cast an Opt then. Bottom a Glimmer. Yay, we did it. Sunpetal Grove. And no play from the opponent. Alright, I guess we just say go here. Could cycle the Censor, but if we miss on a blue land, that's kind of a disaster, so keep up our 2 counter spells here. Opponent could have a transformational sideboard here, as we haven't seen any early creatures yet. And there's Heart of Kiran, which we cannot Essence Scatter. So that resolves, unfortunately. Do they have a follow-up? They don't. Cycle the Censor. Alright, find a couple mountains, which we would prefer islands here to cast the Disallow. But I guess we have our opponent's first creature covered with Essence Scatter. A Planeswalker would be bad news here. Peace Walker Colossus. Pretty nice combo with Galta, and also can't counter that one. And another mountain. Alright, at least we get to Glimmer end of turn here. If our opponent doesn't present any threat. And there's Solemnity, so I guess that stops us gaining energy. So we should probably Cast a Glimmer right now, just to get those 2 energy for future Harness Lightnings. I guess we keep both here, just to get the double blue, even though Spirebluff is not ideal, since then we don't get to Disallow next turn, but probably good enough here. And there's a Harness Lightning, so now we can only deal 2 damage with this at the very most. But that's fine, we only have 2 lightnings in the deck anyways. So let's play a tapped Spirebluff, say go. And I guess we need to discard 2 hand size. Guess we might as well discard a lightning at this point. Yeah, I think the Cut to Ribbons is gonna be more useful as a removal spell, as our opponent did present some high toughness creatures. Given our shaky start, I don't hate the spot we're in currently, but that could change at the moment's notice. Cultivator's Caravan, yep. Opponent's got a lot of vehicles that we didn't see last game, so Abrade would be a great draw here, since if we can deal with the Colossus, then our opponent can't crew their vehicles if they don't have any creatures. Our opponent animates the Heart of Kiran, and they're gonna crew the Colossus, so this looks like they're trying to sneak a Galta into play. Yep, there it is. Let's Acid Scatter. Get that out of the way. But we will still get hit for 6, which is not too bad. So hopefully we can find an Abrade soon here. Alright, there it is, perfect. I think we just Abrade right now on the Colossus. And then we still have Disallow up, as well as Glimmer. And I don't want to give the opponent the opportunity to animate their vehicles and hit us for a bunch. And now with double Disallow at the ready, feels pretty good. Opponent might be flooding out a bit. Another Colossus, I think we need to Disallow. And that will also leave the opponent unable to crew any of their vehicles, so Galta is not an issue at this point. Just a Pride Sovereign, which we can easily answer with Cut to Ribbons. So Aether Hub doesn't make any energy here because of Solemnity, but it is still a land. So let's go ahead and get rid of the Pride Sovereign. Say go. And I did mean to Glimmer end of turn, but we accidentally skipped through it, but that's fine. Don't think it'll end up mattering here. So let's just say go. Glimmer and Gearhulk at the ready. Dryads we can let resolve. Don't mind getting an extra land here. Opponent crews a Caravan, which we can block with Gearhulk. Opponent's attacking, so let's just cast a Gearhulk. And flashback Abrade, I think. And we'll blow up the Heart of Kiran. And alright, our opponent scoops it up. Alright, so now that we have a better idea what our opponent is up to, definitely want these negates, since they can counter the vehicles. Take out Harness Lightning, and not too sure about Magma Spray. Sweltering Suns seems pretty terrible. I guess maybe we want all the negates. Acid Scatter's still okay. Yeah, this seems better. Alright, unfortunately another one-lander. I think we need to mulligan. This one-lander I think we can keep just because we get a Scry plus an Opt. Let's bottom the Glimmer. And we are on the draw. Would not mind seeing a Dryads turn 1. There we go, perfect. Get to search up our mountain. So now we get to keep up Negate. Could even decide to cut the Dryads right away, which could also be reasonable, since we do have an Abrade to answer a vehicle. Yeah, sure, let's just cut the Dryads. And if they play a vehicle here, we can Abrade plus Opt. Scrap Heap Scrounger, that's fine. So we did leave in all 3 Magma Sprays, I think, so hopefully we draw into one of those. Let's play Aether Hub now before our opponent plays Solemnity. And say go. Opponent is just splashing black most likely for the Scrap Heap. Didn't see any black lands game 2. Toolcraft Exemplar. I guess we let resolve. I think we need to take the hit from the scrap heap here, just in case our opponent plays a Heart of Kiran second main. Want to keep up Negate. Instead, a Consulate Dreadnought. If both their creatures survive, they could actually animate this and then maybe even play Galta. So I'm actually tempted to negate this one. As weird as it sounds, I think we need to negate that. And then I'll also opt. And another negate. I think I want to bottom. Find a Disallow. Don't have double blue yet, but we did draw a Censor, which is good. Now we can Abrade one of the opponent's creatures. And then still Censor. So we probably want to Abrade the scrap heap before our opponent moves to combat. So let's destroy target artifact. Opponent can still get it back by exiling the Dryads, but that kind of forces the issue. Opponent did not get it back, so they'll just be hitting us for 1. And yeah, now it should be too late for the scrap heap, since the trigger already happened. So they should have done that in their main phase. So they're just hitting us for 1, and they didn't even bother. I think we will cycle Censor, find Spray, excellent, get rid of the scrap heap. Alright, and there's our second blue source. So we just need to dodge 1 turn here, and then we're good. Another Toolcraft, hopefully no artifact. Another scrap heap, that's an issue. Don't have the blue mana to counter it. And now they get to hit us for 3, and next turn for 9. Yeah, we're in trouble. Had we seen the Exemplars last game, maybe would have kept in our sweeper effects, but after seeing so many vehicles and Galta, Sweltering Suns didn't seem great. And Torrential Gearhulk, we're 1 mana short, so this is gonna hurt. I mean, I guess we could use Disallow to counter a trigger, but that seems pretty miserable. But if we take now and we fall to 5, yeah, I think we're actually forced to do this, otherwise we risk just being dead. So we still take 7 to 7, but if we can find a land, we can flash in Gearhulk and exile the Scrap Heap Scrounger. Opponent doesn't attack us with a 1-1, not sure why. But I'll take it, we're at 8. And Cultivator's Caravan is pretty good here. Opt to draw, not what we wanted. I think we're dead here, but let's opt. Mountain, bottom. Abrade. That does give us a fighting chance here. We can't get rid of both artifacts, but we can kill one of the opponent's attackers, so if they don't add another creature, we can kill one of the opponent's attackers and still survive for a turn. The Dryads is probably gonna be the nail in the coffin here, since they can crew the caravan with the Dryad. Let's search up an island. Looks like they decided not to crew the caravan, at least not yet. But now they do. So now we're pretty dead here, if they just attack with everyone. And they do. Alright, that's too bad. Can destroy the caravan. But then we fall to the Toolcraft Exemplars, which we did not expect. But that's a cool thing about New Standard, is that you get a lot of brews and you don't exactly know what you're up against. So perhaps we overboarded in the third game here by bringing in all the negates after seeing all the vehicles in game 2. But that's fine, we got to see a cool deck from our opponent. So I want to thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. And as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for supporting the channel, and you can do so yourself as well over at patreon.com/LegenVD, where you get cool rewards for supporting the channel, as well as getting us closer to our goals, where with every goal reached we will release an additional weekly series. So if you want to see more content, Patreon is the place to go.